Welcome to the channel Cataclysms of the Planet Today. Here we talk about the most powerful natural phenomena and man-made disasters that shake the world. Earthquakes, hurricanes, tsunamis, fires. We collect the most relevant data from open sources so that you are aware of events. Subscribe to the channel so as not to miss important updates. Be the first to know about global cataclysms and their consequences. We monitor the situation, analyze the facts, and share the latest information. Like and write in the comments what you think about what is happening in the world. Your opinion matters. Friends, let's start with the shocking tragedy that shook Honduras. A passenger plane of Lanhsa Airlines, a small jet stream, crashed into the sea literally a minute after takeoff from the island of Roatan. There were 15 people on board, passengers, crew, among them a famous local musician from the indigenous people. Imagine, people had just fastened their seatbelts, the plane was gaining altitude over the Caribbean Sea, and suddenly, a sharp bank, a loud bang, and it fell into the water. Local fishermen and tourists saw how the machine disappeared into the waves, leaving only debris and panic. The rescue operation began immediately. Boats, helicopters, divers rushed to the crash site. At the moment, 6 people are known to have died, but 9 people were pulled out alive from under the wreckage, an incredible miracle. The cause is still a mystery. Either the engine failed, or the pilot lost control. Investigators are already studying the black boxes, and all of Honduras is mourning. We are moving to the Chelyabinsk region, where the city of Asha found itself at the epicenter of the water element. The spring flood hit the region with such force that the streets turned into seething rivers. It all started with the Sim River. An ice jam blocked the flow, and the water rushed into residential areas. 2 villages, Chapayevsky and Kozlovsky, are completely flooded. Houses up to the windows in mud, cars are floating like boats, and people are panicking and packing their things. Imagine, children are watching from their windows as their yards disappear under the streams, and adults are trying to save at least something. The Ministry of Emergency Situations has thrown all its forces. Sappers are already on the scene, blowing up the ice with dynamite to let the water out, and rescuers are evacuating residents in boats. There are hundreds of videos on social networks. Cars are sinking, bridges are shaking, and voices are shouting, "Where is the help?" This is not just a flood, this is a real battle with nature. The tragedy shook Kazakhstan, and this is a story that will make your blood run cold. Near the Shymbulak ski resort in the Almaty region, a young skier died in an avalanche. She was skiing off-piste in an area where the snow was especially treacherous. Imagine, a clear day, the mountains beckon, and suddenly, a roar like thunder, and tons of snow fall from the top. The girl did not have time to react. The avalanche covered her in seconds, burying her under a multi-meter thick layer. Friends called rescuers, but they arrived too late. After a long search with dogs and probes, she was found without signs of life. Locals say that warming made the snow unstable, and this was a fatal moment. Shymbulak is a favorite place for thousands of tourists, but this death reminded us, the mountains are beautiful, but merciless. The family is in mourning, and the ski community is now calling on everyone to check the forecasts and not take risks. This is a lesson paid for by life. The town of Drain in Oregon, USA was hit by the elements. Torrential rains hit the region with such force that the Elk Creek and Umpqua rivers overflowed their banks in a matter of hours. Streets turned into water channels. Houses were flooded up to the roofs, and residents watched in shock as their lives were carried away by the current. Imagine, cars floating like paper boats, and people climbing to high ground, saving children and pets. Rescuers in boats and helicopters are working non-stop, pulling people out of traps. Bridges are creaking under the pressure of the water, and local farms have lost their entire crops. Forecasters say that this March flood is one of the worst in decades, and the rains will not subside for a couple of days. Videos of cries for help and footage of destruction are circulating on social media. This morning, Iran was shaken by a new tragedy. In the city of Naushar, Mazandaran province, a training plane crashed during a training flight. It happened on March 18th at about 9 a.m. local time. On board were 2 cadets of a military school, young guys who were just learning to drive a plane. Imagine, A clear morning, a plane takes off over the Caspian coast, and suddenly, a sharp bank, a fall, an explosion. The wreckage fell on a field near the city, and black smoke rose into the sky, visible for kilometers. Eyewitnesses say the sound was like a bolt from the blue. Both pilots died on the spot, and they had no chance of survival. The military cordoned off the area, rescuers collected the remains, and investigators are already looking for the cause. Engine failure? Control error? This is a strike on Iranian aviation, and the country mourns the lost lives. In Dagestan, nature is on fire, and it's a real war with the elements. The landscape fire broke out in March and has already engulfed dozens of hectares of dry grass and bushes in the mountainous areas. The flames are blazing with such fury that smoke has enveloped entire valleys, and the smell of burning has reached the nearest villages. Imagine, firefighters in protective suits are fighting the fire, helicopters are dropping tons of water from the air, and ground crews are digging barriers to stop the spread. But the wind, a treacherous ally of fire, is fanning the flames even more. Environmentalists are shouting, the forest fund is under threat, animals are fleeing, and local residents are on edge. The smoke is already at their doorsteps. Social networks are full of videos, red tongues are devouring slopes, and voices behind the scenes are begging for rain. This is a battle for the nature of Dagestan, and the outcome is still unclear. Will it be possible to put out this hell? We are following every step. Believe it or not, the East Sea coast in Korea has turned into a winter fairy tale in the middle of March. Heavy snowfall has hit the region, covering beaches and ports with a thick layer of snow. It's usually warm here at this time of year, but nature has decided otherwise. The temperature has dropped to 0, and the wind has brought snow clouds from the north. Roads are blocked, cars are stuck in snowdrifts, and fishermen are shocked to see their boats covered in ice. Imagine, children are making snowmen by the sea, and adults are filming it on their phones, not believing their eyes. But there are problems: transport collapse, broken wires, and farmers are afraid for early crops. Forecasters say this is an anomaly due to a cold front, and snow has been falling for the second day. Korea is experiencing a March that will go down in history. Malaga, Spain, has surprised the whole world. The mountains around this southern city, famous for its sun and beaches, are covered in snow. Yes, you heard right, snow in March in the south of Spain. The Sierra de las Nieves, usually green and warm, turned white, like in the Alps. It all started with a sharp cold snap. Clouds from the Atlantic brought precipitation, and the temperature dropped below 0. Tourists grab their cameras. Locals are shocked. Where is my tan? The roads in the mountains have become slippery. Cars are skidding, but the beauty is mesmerizing. The slopes sparkle in the sun. Social networks exploded with photos, children playing snowballs, and adults joke about the Spanish winter. This is an anomaly that Malaga will remember for a long time. The Russian Emergencies Ministry has thrown all its forces into the fight against an environmental disaster. Somewhere in the country, the exact location is still being kept secret. There was an oil spill, and this is a real threat to nature. Black spots are spreading across the water, threatening rivers, forests, and animals. Imagine, rescuers in orange suits are collecting oil by hand, equipment is humming, and barriers are trying to contain the poison. Helicopters are circling above the zone, delivering equipment, and scientists are monitoring every step. It's a race against time. If the oil reaches large bodies of water, the consequences will be dire. Environmentalists are sounding the alarm, and locals are demanding openness on social media. The Ministry of Emergency Situations promises, "We will cope," but the scale is still unclear. Where did this happen, and what next? We are waiting for answers. Kibini in the Murmansk region became the stage for a celestial miracle. Bright northern lights lit up the sky above the mountains, turning the night into a magical spectacle. Green waves, purple flashes, red stripes, it was like a dance of light over the snow-capped peaks. Residents of Kirovsk and tourists ran out into the streets, filming it on cameras and phones. Social networks exploded, hundreds of photos and videos, where people scream with delight. "This is incredible," scientists say. Powerful solar activity gave such a bright spectacle, and Kibini were at the epicenter. This is not just a glow, this is a moment that will remain in the memory forever. In the USA, nature showed its power. During a thunderstorm, lightning struck the road so close that drivers almost jumped out of their cars. It was somewhere in the southern states. The exact location has not yet been named, but footage from dash cams is already circulating online. Imagine a dark sky, a flash like an explosion, thunder shaking everything around, and smoke rising from the asphalt. People were screaming, brakes were screeching, and someone ran out to check what was left of the road. Social networks exploded. That was too close. Scientists say such strikes are rare, but deadly. This is the moment when nature reminded it is always close and always stronger. Batam, Indonesia was at the mercy of a tornado. A huge black funnel swirled over the city, demolishing everything in its path. Roofs of houses flew away like paper, trees broke like matches, and cars were lifted into the air. Imagine. People filmed this from their windows, screaming in horror as the wind column moved, picking up debris and rubble. The tornado passed in minutes, but left chaos in its wake. Dozens of houses were destroyed, streets were in ruins. Rescuers rushed to help, and authorities are counting the damage. Videos with trembling voices are on social media. We thought this was the end. Batam is recovering, but the fear is not gone yet. Nature painted a masterpiece over Gibraltar. Clouds swirled into waves due to Kelvin Helmholtz instability, a rare phenomenon when the wind plays with the air. It looked like a painting in the sky. White curls, similar to sea waves, hovered above the famous rock. Tourists and locals ran out with cameras filming this miracle, and scientists explain layers of air moved at different speeds, creating such a pattern. No danger, just beauty. Social networks are filled with photos with captions. Gibraltar has become cosmic. This is the moment when nature turns into an artist. Aguilas in Murcia, Spain was hit by the elements. A flash flood hit the city with such force that cars were carried away like toys. It rained in sheets all night, and by morning the streets had turned into seething rivers. Imagine, water gushing from the hills, bridges are cracking, and residents are running to the roofs, saving children and animals. Rescuers in boats are pulling people out of flooded houses, and videos from the scene are like scenes from a disaster movie. Cars are floating, cries for help are heard everywhere. The authorities are calling, "Don't go outside!" This is a battle with the streams, and Aguilas is holding on with all its might. How long will this nightmare last? We are watching. Anjatan in West Java, Indonesia, was in the clutches of a tornado. It's rare for the tropics, but the elements hit with full force. A black funnel swept through the city, demolishing houses, uprooting trees, and scattering debris. Imagine people hiding in basements screaming in terror while the wind roared like a beast. Eyewitness videos are chaos. Roofs fly off, cars roll, and voices off-screen beg for rescue. The tornado lasted only a few minutes, but left millions in destruction. There are no casualties yet, but dozens of families have lost their homes. Anjatan is recovering, and the world wonders, what will this March bring next? Nature put on a real show near Oak Island in North Carolina. A waterspout swirled over the ocean. A huge column of water and wind rose from the waves like a dancing giant. Fishermen on boats and tourists on the shore grabbed their phones, filming the spectacle. Imagine the waves raging, the tornado spinning, and the cries of delight mingling with the noise of the wind. It didn't reach the land, but it raised such waves that the beaches were flooded. Scientists say, the warm sea and the wind created this phenomenon. Social media is buzzing. It was epic. Oak will remember this day as a moment of beauty and power of nature.